Airbnb co-hosting, or property management, another word for when you manage someone else's property on Airbnb in exchange for a percentage of the revenue. So you get to leverage Airbnb without actually owning or renting any properties. It is undoubtedly a really, really great business model for anyone that is looking to get started with short-term rentals. But does it still work in 2024? There's been so many changes over the last few years with Airbnb and short-term rentals. The market has changed. Interest rates are up. Everything is changing. And so the question is, does Airbnb co-hosting actually still work in 2024? Can you actually get started and build a full-time income from this business without having to struggle a whole bunch? Is it actually still viable? I'm going to answer that question for you in this video by walking you through some of the main changes, some of the things to be aware of, some of the things to consider. I'm just going to share with you my honest opinion of what's going on in Airbnb co-hosting. So for starters, let's talk about what actually is Airbnb co-hosting. Why do people want to sign up with a co-host so that we can figure out if it's still even something people want in 2024? Well, ultimately with Airbnb co-hosting, what you're offering to hosts is you're offering them the opportunity for you to take care of all of the stuff that they don't enjoy, things that they're frustrated with or that are challenging for them, and you're going to do it in exchange for a percentage of the revenue. So if you think about a typical property owner, whether they're a vacation homeowner or real estate investor, whatever they might be, they have options. They can leave their property empty. They can rent their property long-term, or they can rent their property short-term, maybe mid-term as well. Now, there are a lot of downsides recently to renting that property long-term. The biggest of which is that they're just not going to make a really good return. With interest rates being higher, people need more cash flow from their property in order to be able to afford to keep them. Set aside the fact that landlord and tenant laws can be very restrictive depending on the area that you're operating in. So you don't want to have a tenant in there because they're not going to make enough for you to be able to pay your mortgage on the property. You're going to be losing money. You also don't want to run the risk of having to deal with an eviction that could further put you into negative cash flow and create a whole bunch of headache. And a lot of people just don't want to deal with all the wear and tear of having a long-term guest in there, a long-term tenant who's going to potentially put holes in the walls, mistreat the property, hang stuff on the walls, whatever it might be. And so naturally, short-term renting the property is a really attractive option for a lot of people. You can make more cash flow. You tend to actually have less wear and tear on the property. And I know this is a hot take, a contradictory opinion to what you might hear from other people who haven't actually done short-term rental. But I can say from experience that having, seen what long-term rental tenants do to a property and having managed dozens and dozens of short-term rental properties, short-term rental guests tend to take much better care of the property. So a lot of landlords, a lot of property owners are going to want to do short-term rental because they get more control of their property, more cash flow, less wear and tear. They've got the flexibility to now use that property as a lifestyle asset. The reasons are kind of endless as to why you might want to do short-term rental. And now we've got more people than ever that want to do short-term rental because they're being constrained on cash flow because of the rising interest rates. So if you think about it, the demand for short-term rental is definitely there, but does that necessarily mean that the demand for co-hosting is there? Well, maybe, maybe not. Let's take it a step further. Now, obviously we just talked about all the upsides of hosting your property as a short-term rental, but what about the downsides? There certainly are drawbacks to be aware of. The first of which is that now, instead of dealing with one single person staying at your property for the entire year, you might have upwards to 100 people staying at your property in a given year. At the end of the day, you're renting your property out short term for anywhere from 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights at a time. And so you're gonna have a lot more turnover. That means there's a lot more work to do. You have to coordinate with cleaners. You have to take care of actually communicating with the guests. You have to actually furnish that property, get it set up, make sure it's ready to go for Airbnb. You also have to now go and price the property. You don't just set a price one single time and then go collect your rent. You have to set your pricing individually for all the different days of the year. Otherwise, you risk losing a bunch of money. Are you a brand new or experienced Airbnb host, co-host, or investor who wants to host as successfully, as profitably, and with as much fun as possible? If so, then I would love to invite you to check out BNB Tribe, linked in the description down below this video. It's our exclusive community for Airbnb hosts, investors, and co-hosts from all over the world, where I share some of my best trainings that go into detail on every single aspect of Airbnb hosting from A to Z. We've got advanced training playbooks that will help you to use more advanced strategies to take things to the next level and make more money and have more fun hosting, co-hosting, or investing on Airbnb. You're also going to get access to an incredible community and over $2,500 worth of deals, perks, discounts, bonuses that I've negotiated with other vendors in the short-term rental industry. So if you want access to all of that and a whole bunch more, check out the link in the description down below for BNB Tribe, and I would love to see you on the inside. And you might not really want to learn about all this stuff. After all, a lot of people that own property, they don't necessarily want to get into it as a full-time thing. They do it as passive income, or they do it as a vacation property, a lifestyle asset. And so maybe they just don't want to learn all the ins and outs of how to optimize the performance on Airbnb, how to charge the right amount, all this stuff. And so they've got a couple decisions to make. Either they can manage it themselves and take on all that extra work, which then really doesn't really make it that worthwhile to do this strategy, because you get all this extra money, but you cost yourself a whole bunch of extra time. And maybe they don't want to learn all the strategies to actually optimize things and streamline processes. And maybe they're even leaving money on the table. So naturally, that's when people will turn to a co-host. With a co-host, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You can be really hands-off by having that co-host, that property manager, take care of all those headaches and frustrations. You can be relatively ignorant to what it takes to succeed on Airbnb, because you're placing the ownership of that onto your co-host. Now, granted, you might still want to know a few things to make sure your co-host is actually doing a good job, but you don't need to know the nitty-gritty details and all the ins and outs of everything. So you now don't have this learning curve. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to do all the work managing everything day to day. And you get the benefit of, because this person is actually a professional, they know what they're doing. Now your property should actually perform better than with you managing it yourself, because they can take advantage of all these different optimization techniques and pricing strategies that you weren't aware of. So that's when co-hosting becomes a really great option. Now, typically co-hosting will tend to boom as an industry once you have a lot of new people coming into short-term rentals. New people coming into short-term rentals lack experience. And when they lack experience and expertise, that's when they look for professional help. So when we have a bunch of people that are newly coming into short-term rentals now, because interest rates have gone up, lots of people are interested in it, they want to make the extra cash flow, that's when co-hosting tends to boom. And so naturally, what we're seeing in the market right now is a lot of demand for co-hosting. Most of the 700 or so co-hosts that I work with are experiencing a lot more demand for their services than normally. So is now a great time to get started co-hosting? I would say yes. It really is. I've been doing this for about a decade now, and it's as good a time as any, if not a bit better time than most, to actually get started with the business. But in order to get started and really be successful, you need to actually be able to deliver value to your clients. What a novel concept, I know. You can't just get started without any experience, any expertise, any training, and expect clients to hand their properties over to you and be fully satisfied. You need to be able to actually solve the problems that they have, actually make sure it's a nice stress-free, hands-off process for them, and most importantly, make sure that you can actually deliver in terms of getting really good bookings, getting high nightly rates, getting high occupancy rate. And so that's exactly why I've been coaching co-hosts and people that want to start their co-hosting businesses for almost a decade now. It's exactly why we created programs like BNB Mastery Program and BNB Tribe that are linked in the description down below for you to check out. Again, shameless plug, but really that's exactly why those programs exist. That's exactly why I got into this coaching space, is to help people like you to learn the ins and outs so that you can actually start things off on the right foot, avoid a whole bunch of the mistakes that I made, and be successful a whole lot faster than trying to figure everything out on your own. So, hope this video has been really valuable for you. If it has been and you want to work more closely with me, join our community. If you want to learn from us, check out all the stuff in the link in the description down below. BNB Tribe is a really fantastic place to get started. We also have an in-depth training program that goes into absolute detail, no stone left unturned on co-hosting and starting and growing your co-hosting business. That's called BNB Mastery Program. We've got trainings linked down in the description below that are completely free, that are going to go through all the details on all that. And as always, if you like this video, if you did get value from it, if you thought it was helpful, then please take half a second and just hit the like button on this video. It really does help me out a lot with growing this channel and getting these videos in front of more people. And if you have any comments, thoughts, questions, anything at all, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to see more of these videos, I post 2 new videos every single week here on this channel. I've been going strong for years, and I'm going to be going strong for a few more years into the future as well. So just hit that subscribe button down below the video. Feel free to turn on the notification bell as well if you do want to be notified when we post new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you over in the next one.